make us live. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live again. Join us if you want to be masters of philosophical wizardry. And I'm joined with my brother in arms, Thomas Panter of Alabama. What's up, Thomas?
Hello.
Hello. Are you ready to do the philanthropy thing?
I am. Let's start helping people.
Let's start having. You know what? Let's just be quiet. I'm going to share this with our Discord server to get us going. We are.
Tell them not to come. Be like, everybody, don't come, please.
Yeah, don't come. Don't just piss us off. Comments. Don't do anything negative. Nothing negative about being anti-Trump. Okay? Watch him. He's a comer. Yeah, exactly. Now, it's Casey's fault. Monetization. You know what's really dumb? I haven't even gone live yet because for some reason it is defaulting to private. Okay, now all of that beautiful content wasted. All right, now we are live. What up, Thomas? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'm going to show Thomas's face. As always, he's got the best lighting.
Oh, sorry.
Yay! Look at that.
Hurrah!
Hurrah.
Hurrah to you. Hurrah.
Okay, that's good. Hello, everyone. We are promoting the Anti-Trump Tour, featuring none other than Destiny, Stephen Barnett. Oh my God, you're working with Destiny? Ugh. Here's all the things I hate about Destiny. Well, you can hate those things. He is being featured in the Pangburn's official ideological invasion of the United States, the anti-Trump portion. We are going to be announcing, maybe even as soon as tomorrow morning, and going on sale with, please, the anti-RFK Jr. tour, which is going to feature two of my favorite YouTubers. But it's going to be awesome. I'm going to give you guys the link, by the way, if you want to join us in Detroit. Or the anti-Trump tour for the Debate Destiny date. If you want to debate Destiny, if you're a Trump supporter, please join us. We would love to have you. Pin this message. Okay. There's a few things I got to do administratively today, but this today is going to be all about the tour and having some lighthearted, fun conversations with Thomas. We can maybe talk some physics. We can maybe talk some philosophy. Thomas, you've been studying hard. You've been on a physics bender lately.
Yes.
How's that been going?
Awesome. I just keep shoving it in my brain. I'm gonna have a lot of it down by the end of the year is what I hope. Just never stop. Relentless obsessions.
Nice. Anything in particular that would be digestible for the general public?
I think everybody should learn at least classical mechanics. You know how Newtonian's laws of motion and Newtonian laws of universal gravitation and stuff, and how the idea of force and what that is. Like, just simple things in classical mechanics. Everybody can learn those things. They're not very difficult. It gets difficult when you start getting into general and special relativity, which are updates to Newtonian mechanics and classical mechanics, and then you get into particle physics, which deals with particles at the classical level and the quantum level. Then you have to understand quantum mechanics, which is the different reality of how they interact at those levels. It's complicated, and there's a
right.
and there's a lot of it. So Yeah, I'm down to talk about anything specific, but we would have to get real specific to talk about anything in physics. That's just the nature of it. So.
Right. Yeah, sorry everyone. I need to mute the Destiny tab in the background. Sorry, 1 second. If I can figure out how to do that. So go down to media source and we'll put it at 0. There, fixed it. Make sure you guys smash that like button when you get in. Thanks, Thomas, for the rundown. Now, why should someone want to learn some of these things regarding physics?
Along the same lines as why we learn epistemology and logic and rationality is so that we can understand how the world works and what is true, or what is most likely true. You know, unless we get into philosophical craziness and be like, oh, there's nothing true. But let's say that there is true things. I'd rather know those things. And physics is a part of that. It's literally how everything works at the fundamental levels. And I care about how things work at fundamental levels. I'm fine with this, what the phenomena that happen on the surface, but I'm also very interested in the fundamentals. And that's why I think it's interesting for everyone to learn. Now, do you need this pragmatically in your everyday life? Probably not.
Yeah.
You know, not to raise children and be psychologically sound and have a good life and all that. You probably don't need to know physics, but it's just another layer of helping us understand what nature is. It allows us to not be confused about mysticism or supernaturalism or any of these ideas, because we realize that everything is easily explainable by these forces, laws, and ideas.
Right.
Models.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, logic, we've abstracted the system of logic from the consistent relation of reality around us. We notice that there's a consistent relation. You know, apples fall down from trees. They don't fall down from trees and then up from trees sometimes. They consistently fall down from trees. There's a consistent relation that we've abstracted the system of logic from. And physics is where we are really trying to build models where we can apply that logic, that phenomena, the consistent relation of reality that we are abstracting logic from, where we can build models through physics and apply that to things like technologies. And physics is where that happens. So logic should be...
That's why we're able to speak right now.
Right.
That's why we're able to all speak right now.
And logic should be at the foundation of your epistemological standards. So if you're someone like Thomas and I, and you rely on correspondence criteria, for example, to determine what is true, what is truly going on in reality, which simply means if we claim, here's a basic example that I always use. If we claim that the Statue of Liberty exists in New York City, it is true that the Statue of Liberty exists in New York City if it actually does exist in New York City. So we would have to, in some way, measure that claim. It could be with just our eyes. We could look it up on the internet to verify that it actually does exist in New York City. And if it does, that is true because the claim, the proposition corresponds with reality. And then we rely on justification, and in most cases we're looking for evidence, right? For people who are subscribing to a correspondence theory of truth, we're looking for evidence to justify our knowledge, and then ultimately, like all forms of knowledge making or epistemology, we are going to need to believe the thing to be true. Now, Thomas, we talk a lot about the dichotomy of belief, but we've also run into some professors recently who don't believe in the dichotomy of belief, whereas Thomas and I will believe that you either believe a proposition or you don't. So if someone says God exists, that's the proposition. You either accept that proposition as true or you don't, even if you don't know if if the proposition is true. This isn't a knowledge question we're talking about. We're talking about the belief. If you don't know if it's true, you still haven't accepted the proposition that God exists. So you really need to understand the difference between belief and knowledge. But yeah, and Thomas, we've ran into we can just say Stephen Hicks recently, who kind of treats belief like it's kind of on a spectrum.
Yeah, there's a lot of philosophers that try to do that as well, and there's also postmodernists and idealists in that same fashion try to bring a little psychology of consciousness into it, or psychology and the psychology of consciousness, and say the belief is an action that we embody as we're doing. And it's all this extremely complex language to describe what you and I would call mental representationalism. If I have a belief in my head, I have a mental representation of something that I'm thinking about. Not necessarily all the time. You can have a belief about a unicorn behind the sun, but the ways that we go about understanding if a belief is warranted to be believed doesn't have anything to do with the spectrum.
Yeah.
Because I can let's say I 80% believe that Santa Claus exists. Does that mean that I believe that Santa Claus exists?
No. You haven't accepted the proposition. So
even if it's 99.9%, I still haven't accepted it. I may be super close. I may be like, you know what? That sounds pretty reasonable. You know what? I think that's the case. But if I'm honest and rational, I have to say, I still don't know. Therefore, I do not accept the proposition.
You outlined something important about, you pointed to why truth is important in the relationship with belief, because you use the example of the unicorn on the other side of the sun. You can believe that. You can accept that proposition for whatever justifications one could come up with. Yeah. Maybe it's a justification based on tradition that myth has been passed down through your family.
Maybe the unicorn is a properly basic belief.
Right, but this is where the criteria of truth is very important, because if you subscribe to correspondence criteria, you're going to want some kind of demonstration, objective demonstration, that the unicorn does in fact exist on the other side of the sun. And if you don't have that, you shouldn't believe the proposition to be true.
Yeah.
And this is why, like, a lot of God believers out there, they don't have what we just described with regards to God. They don't have the God on the other side of the sun in a correspondence criteria sense. However, if you're a coherentist, if you rely on coherence with regards to that proposition, you can get there. If you are a traditionalist with regards to the criteria of truth by tradition, you can get there, in that if it's part of the tradition in your culture to just accept the truthfulness of the proposition that God exists, then you don't need to correspond that claim to the objects in reality. And that's how you can get away with. But I actually think that we should try to be consistent with our standards of truth that we've come to believe are the right standards.
Mm-hmm. I think everybody takes into account in some way the pragmatic theory of truth, or the pragmatic criteria of truth, because that's kind of how we live. But the correspondence theory of truth, if we're going to do anything in science or anything serious in philosophy, most philosophers today are correspondence theorists. I would say a good half of them are, because I've looked at studies where they interviewed I don't know, it was like 3,000 or 4,000 students and teachers from all across the United States. And it was like 45% correspondence. It was like 27 or 28% deflationary. The others were like epistemic theories of truth, and others was the last. It was like 7% other. So correspondence is argued against constantly by idealists and argued against constantly by postmodernists, because they don't know what you're corresponding to. They don't understand why there's a justification to correspond to anything. Even if there is a reality out there, how do we know we're corresponding to it?
Right. And
we only have our phenomenology.
And that's where we start talking about discernible objects, and you know, there's going to always be this, you know, the problem of the criterion argument, right? coming from idealists. We hear that a lot, where it's like, well, what if this? It's kind of presenting these possible issues, I would say, with the problem of choosing a criteria of truth. And I would say that I always say this, that possibility ought not weigh into our epistemological standards, even though they will be demonstrated to be possible. But whether something's possible or not, just because it's possible that God exists, for example, that doesn't mean you should accept it to be the case that God does in fact exist. That line of reasoning should be reasonable to people. Unfortunately, I think it is, because a lot of people are basing their positive belief that a God exists, they're basing it on things like personal experience, or they're using the Bible as direct evidence of God or something like that.
Yep. Get themselves into a Cartesian circle. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Anyways, we have the anti-Trump tour on sale. If you are a Trump supporter or a Trump defender, this is your chance to debate one of the biggest anti-Trump streamers and YouTubers live on stage. Go to pang-burn.com/tickets and you can get your debate ticket. And we're going to be in Detroit for the first date. We are going to be doing more dates, but I can't guarantee what cities we're going to be in. So I hope you guys come and join us in Detroit. And like I said at the beginning of the stream, we will be announcing the first anti-RFK Jr. Event very soon here, maybe even tomorrow, which I do have to respond to some emails regarding venues. But our two featured anti-RFK Jr. speakers are locked in and they're ready to go. So that's really exciting.
Indeed.
Oh yeah, Scott's letting me know that the Destiny vid is causing a bit of a pixel drop. Yeah, I wanted to try the animation today, but let me swap it out for the actual poster. There, image. And I am going to be just doing some work while we're live today, everyone. So this stream is primarily happening to promote the upcoming tour. But feel free to drop any questions you might have.
We're here to babble at you. Let us babble at you.
100%. There. Let's see. Okay, that's good. Justin Thibault says, next you're going to talk about how borders aren't real. If they weren't, I wouldn't be paying 70% capital gains taxes because I live north of the border. No, baby. I mean, borders are real. I mean, we've conceptualized of borders, and we've applied borders. Borders exist geopolitically, in the geopolitical sense. I think when people say that, they're kind of getting at this, like, these. You understand we created these borders, right? It's like, yeah. I mean, everyone should know that we created the borders. Man,
it's weird how all these borders just follow these rivers. Did God set it up that way?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we haven't done I guess since we're on the anti-wagon, we haven't done an anti-God stream for a while.
My favorite.
But we should do that too. I do plan on putting an anti-faith tour out on the road as well. Hopefully featuring Matt Dillahunty. We've been talking about some dates. He's been getting some stuff sorted out with his schedule, so we'll talk more about that. But yeah, your tax dollars are being pissed away on this like anti-faith office that Trump has created. Like, I don't know exactly how much money this is costing the American people. Let's see. How much money does the new anti-faith office cost taxpayers? I mean, maybe it's a volunteer position, but still taking up time and resources, right? And apparently this is, let's see. Doesn't have specific budget or funding allocations. Historically, similar initiatives have been funded through the budgets of the executive office. Okay. So it will be funded. So it's challenging to determine at this time how much this is going to cost. But, I mean, it's already cost unnecessary time and energy. And apparently,
what?
I want to just read what the actual purpose is.
School me.
I know that the big thing was to fight anti-Christian rhetoric, and there was this idea. Let me pull this up here.
Oh, not allowed to look things up. Got to remember it.
Oh yeah,
Pull from your memory.
Memorize all this.
Let's
shit.
just rationalize it out. We'll just guess. That sounds better.
There's so much of that goes on that people really need to stop doing. They need to do the research. They need to read, not just read things once. A lot of this stuff is very complicated. What should matter most is not what you can memorize, but whether or not you have the right information. So most people who have are just, armchair, having conversations from their home just as a way to entertain themselves about politics. I hear a lot of conversations where the right information is not being shared. Constantly having to come in and correct people. And it's not because I have it all memorized. It's because when I hear what they are saying and I read the actual information that's available, really important details are being missed.
Yeah. The overgeneralization fallacy is the most hardcore thing that always happens on here and in public discourse and everything else. Not everything is so. There are some things in life that are simple, like love. Love is simple.
Yep.
But quantum mechanics is not simple. You can't sit around and guess and rationalize and be like, well, I think entanglement means this. I mean, just get rid of that idea completely. Throw it away. I don't trust my own opinions on certain neuroscience or anything like that. I want to know what the scientific models are and the consensus is from the data. I don't give a shit about my opinions.
Well, and think of how much reading you and I do and studying every day, and we still are pulling up the information to reference when we're in conversations about it because it's the right thing to do. You should want to do that. Learning things and getting to the truth should never be about just wanting to impress people with your memory or what you can memorize, or it should really be about having good faith, helpful conversations that have a high chance of bearing fruit based on the actual facts, the actual information. And too many people are we see it a lot. People surf through Discord and they want to display that they have this memory of all of these things, and they could display it in a coherent way that makes them sound like they have a lot of knowledge. But unfortunately, I just see time and time again when people try to do that, it's just there's a lot of inaccuracies in what's going on, and part of that is because people aren't experts in these things, right? So in February 2025, President Donald Trump issued an executive order establishing the White House Faith Office. This office is designed to empower faith-based entities, community organizations, and houses of worship to serve families and communities more effectively. It is housed with the Domestic Policy Council and is headed by Paula White Cain, a Florida pastor and longtime supporter of President Trump. The primary objective of the White House our objectives of the White House Faith Office include consulting with faith leaders on topics such as defending religious liberty and promoting adoption and foster care programs, advising on policy implementations throughout the federal government to ensure that faith-based organizations can participate in government programs without facing discrimination, assisting faith-based organizations in procuring government grants, thereby enhancing their capacity to serve their communities. This initiative reflects the administration's commitment to integrating faith-based perspectives into public policy and ensuring that religious organizations have a voice in government affairs. Now, when it comes to the concept...
This is what they've been doing since the beginning of conservatives.
Right.
This is what they've been trying to do, is get rid of that separation of church and state.
Right. So, yeah. And I mean, I don't know how you feel about the concept of faith, but for me, I tend to agree with Matt Dillahunty on this, that faith is the excuse we give for believing something when we have no good reason to give. So I really do see a faith office in government as like an anti-reason entity. That's what I see. It doesn't mean that the anti-reason entity can't do good things for human well-being, but you can just do good things for human well-being, and you don't need faith involved in that. You just don't. I mean, our organization, Pangburn, is an example of that. Nowhere in our charters, in the way we operate with any philanthropic efforts we take, does faith come up as a question. We simply operate on wanting to maximize well-being for humanity from that perspective. So, and that's how the government is basically tasked to operate anyway. So why the faith office? There is this like growing concern that I think is unfounded that Christians are being discriminated against in the United States, but I'm also going to pull up some information of how that's pretty absurd to believe that, because Christians like still hold the majority of power. They're not a minority at all. I mean, are they not? They're an overwhelming majority in the United States. So
yeah, they are.
Yeah.
So that faith office, is that separate from maybe groups that would be advocating for inclusion of separation or inclusion of church and state?
Well, it sounds like they, so there's the foster care programs issue. So they want to be, they want to be advising on policy implementations. So throughout the federal government, again, to ensure that faith-based organizations can participate in government programs. So, yeah, I mean, it does seem like there's a bit of a violation in the separation between church and state there, at least.
I think that's what they want to move towards, is what it sounds like. They maybe not go in full bore immediately, but that seems to be where that line of reasoning would lead us, is to think that, Christian nationalists or even just Christians in general want a constitution that's based on biblical or Christian notions, teachings, values.
Yep. And here's a little more breakdown on why this discrimination issue is absurd. So we already talked about the majority religion status. So Christianity remains the dominant religion in the U.S., both in terms of population and cultural influence. Christian holidays like Christmas and Easter are national holidays, and many public institutions reflect Christian norms like congressional prayers, "In God We Trust." Most U.S. presidents and members of Congress identify as Christians, suggesting institutional representation is strong. So right there, those 3 points under, majority religion status should right off the bat show you that Christians hold the power in the United States of America. Your holidays are embedded in the national identity. More and more, we are seeing other holidays celebrated, but they're not embedded in the national identity like Christmas and Easter is. Legal protections are robust. So the First Amendment protects religious freedom. Everyone knows that. Many court rulings actually uphold Christian religious rights, such as right to opt out of certain services. The Masterpiece Cake Shop versus Colorado Civil Rights Commission is an example of that. So right to express religious freedoms in schools or public forums, as long as it doesn't violate neutrality. So another point, freedom to worship openly. Christians in the U.S. can build churches, evangelize, publish religious materials, and gather freely. Christian media is widespread. TV channels, radio stations, books, and podcasts are freely available and dominant in the religious media space. Criticism isn't discrimination, so this is an important point. Some argue that pushback against certain Christian views, opposition to LGBTQ plus rights, is often mistaken for religious discrimination. Critics say that being challenged on a belief or policy stance isn't the same as being persecuted for your religion, and that's 100% true. You just because people like me as an atheist, and I make arguments. Not only why a lack of belief in God is reasonable, but why I know that God doesn't exist as a Gnostic atheist, that should never be viewed as any kind of discrimination. That's just me disagreeing with you. That's, and what you believe.
Mm-hmm.
Someone just said, this whole world needs Jesus. No, I don't think so. Why do you think the whole world needs Jesus?
What do you respect about Jesus that the whole world needs to exemplify morally? What do you think was moral about Jesus?
Yeah, we can start there for sure. We'll keep an eye on the comment section. Make sure you guys smash the like button. We're going to be live for a while here. We are promoting the anti-Trump tour. Rock and roll.
Rock.
Yeah. Comparative perspective. Compared to true religious persecution in other parts of the world, like imprisonment, execution, for example, U.S. Christians face relatively minor social challenges. Labeling mild social friction as, quote, persecution dilutes the meaning of actual oppression. Privileges remain widespread. Tax exemptions for churches, prayer in public settings, schools, sports events, moral influence in policy making, such as abortion and marriage debates, often centers around Christian values. Religious pluralism isn't anti-Christian. Efforts to include other faiths or secular voices in the public square is not inherently anti-Christian. Supporting religious neutrality in government spaces is often equality, not hostility. So these are some points that should make it very clear to you that there is not any kind of Christian discrimination on a large scale happening in the United States. You can pull up individual instances where this will be the case, because people are bastards and there are bad actors out there. And surely there have been Christians who have, been oppressed in some way for their beliefs.
I don't care about the majority complaining like that.
Right.
Like, shut the hell up.
Yeah. So it's, so with that information, you shouldn't believe this. And this was a big reason why Donald Trump felt he needed to implement this, White House faith office, which essentially is just pissing your money away.
Mm-hmm. What's it called again? The pro-faith, or so? What did you call it?
It's just the White House Faith Office is what they're
Oh,
calling
that's what
it.
it's called?
Yeah.
Who's in charge of it? Trump?
No, it's this Paula White Cain pastor.
Oh.
But I want to pull up her she's got quite the rap sheet from what I can remember. Maybe it's not fair to call it a rap sheet. But she's made some terribly inhumane comments.
Yeah.
So Paula White Cain, a prominent televangelist and spiritual advisor to former President Donald Trump, this says former, has been a figure of considerable controversy due to her theological teachings, financial practices, and political involvement. So prosperity gospel teachings. White Cain is widely associated with the prosperity gospel, a doctrine suggesting that faith coupled with financial contributions to religious causes can lead to material wealth and physical well-being. Let's read that again.
No, she's one of those pieces of garbage.
Yeah.
She's like Kenneth Copeland or any of those seed faith trash where they rip people off and take their money, sick people's money, and say, "Oh yeah, the more money you give, the better you'll be blessed and you'll be healed." And all.
I have to read that again.
Right, sorry, I'm cussing.
I have to read that again. And so White Cain is widely associated with the prosperity gospel. By the way, Donald Trump picked this woman to be the head of this faith office in the White House. This is where your tax money's going, folks. A doctrine suggesting that faith coupled with financial contributions to religious causes can lead to material wealth and physical well-being by making financial contributions to religious causes. Critics argue that this theology exploits vulnerable individuals, well, no shit, by promising divine rewards in exchange for monetary donations. This is disgusting. This is the same kind of shit that James Randi fought against his entire career, who is, of course, one of my heroes.
Yeah, he is an awesome person. This is causing some people, some Christians, this prosperity horse shit to not go to the doctor and, think about giving more money to whoever it is, which church or pastor, it doesn't matter. But they don't go to the doctor. They just try to heal it away, and they end up dying because they think that the prosperity gospel gives them some chance of being healed other than going to a doctor. There's Christian scientists and stuff who also don't go to doctors. They believe in praying and healing and stuff like that. But these people are actually almost manipulating these people to think this way. It's not a choice of their own, right? They may have gone to the doctor otherwise. It's just sick.
It is sick. She has also been known to request specific donation amounts from her followers, implying that such contributions would result in spiritual and material blessings. So yeah, that's just another point, like digging money out of her followers for specific amounts, which would contribute directly for spiritual and material blessings. Yikes. So Senate Finance Committee investigation. Between 2007 and 2011, White Cain's ministry, Without Walls International Church, was one of 6 televangelist organizations investigated by the U.S. Senate Finance Committee for potential misuse of tax-exempt funds. The inquiry revealed expenditures such as $900,000 for a mansion's mortgage, private jet operations, and salaries to extended family members. Despite these findings, no penalties were imposed. Yeah, this is a tale as old as time, that they reallocate this money into like pseudo church positions for their extended family members, so everyone can get rich off this money that's supposed to be delivering spiritual and material blessings to the followers. And there's really no, in these cases, as immoral as it may sound, because it seems like vulnerable people are being taken advantage of, there's nothing that can be done in some of these cases. $900,000 for a mansion's mortgage, right? Very, very Christian.
Mm-hmm.
controversial statements
Yeah.
and actions. White Kane has made several statements that have attracted criticism. In January 2020, she prayed for the miscarriage of satanic pregnancies. Can you imagine? Like, this is the Christianity of today, right? Praying for miscarriages, right? Of so-called satanic pregnancies. How is that
That's
at all biblical?
yeah, there's no biblical basis for that.
A remark she later clarified as metaphorical, referring to spiritual attacks rather than literal pregnancies. Okay. Additionally, her participation in Jewish observances, such as fasting on Yom Kippur and wearing a talit, has been met with disapproval from Christian circles.
I like how she's called the spiritual advisor. That makes me happy inside.
How is this person advising anyone on anything? Political involvement. Here's her political involvement and backlash. As a spiritual advisor of Donald Trump, White Kane's political engagements have been contentious. Her appointment to lead the White House Faith Office in February 2025 was met with criticism from various Christian leaders who questioned her theological positions and the implications of her close association with the administration. Yeah, I mean, this gets to a greater point that nothing Donald Trump does can be justified from like how Christians are meant to be living the good life in today's world, right? Do you agree with that, Thomas? Like, like by any like pastoral standard, they would have a lot of issues with how Donald Trump lives, his pathological lying, you know.
Honest Christians would have a terrible problem with it.
Yeah, because he's not honest at all. He's, in fact, he might be the most documented liar in history at this point.
Definitely the most documented, just because of the time we live in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm sure Hitler told a lot of wonderful lies in his day. I don't know if I don't know if he would probably he like Donald Trump finds a way to lie about trivial things that are irrelevant and that are easily checkable by people.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, why do you do that?
But he does it because he knows that his audience isn't going to check. There's already this programming that's happened where and we see it in the comment section during these live streams all the time. No justification is sought out, or even, you know, his followers aren't able to justify why they believe what they believe about what Trump says. Because they don't want to admit that, well, I just believe it because Trump told me to believe it, or Trump said a thing, and by default I just believe what Trump says. That's what's been going on with this cult capture with regards to, you know, Trump's relationship with his like most polarized voting constituency, and it's a big problem.
I guess the only thing you could say to them is be like, Trump could be incorrect about certain things, right?
Yeah.
If they say no, they're insane.
Well, and this whole you know, war against the media attitude, where the media can't be trusted and you can only trust what we're saying because they're going to give you false information, and you know, this is what this is some of the stuff that is authoritarian, relates to authoritarianism.
Smells a little bit of conspiracy too.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so that's I wanted to bring that up because we are going to be putting the Anti-Faith tour on the road. We are sponsoring the Ark Encounter protests. So there's one thing that we're doing so far. We donated $2,500 US to the Ark Encounter protest, which is a place that is a constant peddler of anti-science and misinformation to children and adults. And it's I don't know what they're actually. I want to see how many people visit the Ark Encounter every year?
Please don't be in the millions.
Well, I hate to burst your bubble. So around 1 to 1.2 million per year, based on recent data.
Bad. It's so bad.
The number only dipped slightly during the COVID-19 pandemic.
God. Not one single person in that place during COVID was wearing a mask.
Misinformation at the Ark Encounter. Yeah, probably many maskless participants.
And people get angry about, like, you trying to make me wear a mask, mother?
So the Ark
like,
Encounter.
no, dude, just get away from me. I'm tired of you spraying on me.
Well, they would probably have some. Yeah, they'd probably have some like misinformation campaign regarding that too. The Ark Encounter has been criticized by many scientists, educators, and secular organizations for promoting scientifically inaccurate information, particularly regarding Earth's history, biology, and evolution. So obviously they're promoting young Earth creationism, and that they're teaching that the Earth is 6,000 years old. Of course, the Earth's age is 4.54 billion years old, and the universe's age is 13.8 billion years. Teaching misinformation like this, or in this case, I would call it even disinformation to children, is of like the highest evil you can do on this planet. It's like, if you believe all this stuff, you should at least recognize that it's controversial, and you should give your children a chance to learn what's scientifically accurate, what the modeling shows, and then if they want to adopt their the same religion as you when they reach an age where they can come to it on their own volition, then so be it. But so many people just indoctrinate their children into anti-science based on their religious beliefs, and it's a shame, and it is a great evil, I think. Global flood as a historical event. So it presents Noah's flood as a literal global event that happened around 4,300 years ago. The claims include all land animals were aboard the ark. Yeah, the flood reshaped the Earth's geology. And then obviously geologists argue that there's no evidence of a worldwide flood. So if these kids are in a science classroom, they're like, did Noah's flood actually, or do we have evidence that Noah's flood actually happened? And if they say yes, they would get that question wrong. Obviously, that question is not going to come.
Where did the water come from?
Yeah.
Where did the water come from, and where did the water go?
Precisely. Rejection of evolution. The Ark claims that all animals, quote, kinds were created separately and do not share common ancestry. It promotes baraminology, the idea that animals diversified only within kinds after the flood. This rejects overwhelming evidence.
Kinds is not used in evolutionary biology. There's kinds is some Christian stuff, I think.
It is.
I've never heard that used in evolutionary biology or biology.
Yeah, I just hear it used by Christians. So this obviously rejects overwhelming evidence from genetics, fossils, comparative anatomy, and embryology. Human-animal coexistence. The Ark depicts animals living alongside dinosaurs, asserted they were created on the same day. This one's like, the others are blatant, but this one is ridiculous, right? And it really
dragons exist here. Is that where we're going?
Yeah. Komodo dragons, right? Yeah. See, dragons existed.
There you go.
So obviously there's 65 million years separation between the dinosaurs that we would read in dinosaur books, or when kids are interested in dinosaurs, the kind of dinosaurs they're looking at. Now, it is true that all birds today that we see around us are technically dinosaurs. We don't call them dinosaurs, but they are technically dinosaurs. But that's not what's meant by this. There were from what I remember when I saw a documentary on the Ark Encounter Museum, they have like velociraptor.
That's what I was just going to say.
Like hanging out.
They have like velociraptors hanging out with like bears and shit. And I'm like, dude. Like, how did the fossils become petrified and all that stuff? How did they just do that over 500 years? Like, man. So ridiculous. Oh, yeah. Man. Fossil evidence is ignored. Radiometric and carbon dating is ignored. All that stuff.
Someone just said, just heard about this and checked the site, and you have some design issue on the tickets page for people using Safari. Oh, really? Thanks for letting me know. I'll look into that. So Safari is not working. Do you have Safari, Thomas?
I've used it before, but no, I don't have it right now.
You don't have it on. Okay, yeah, I'll have to check. I think I have Safari on something, or I can figure it out. But yeah, we'll figure that out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
In the meantime, please don't use Safari.
Use Firefox.
Use Firefox. Use Google Chrome.
Yep.
I know Google Chrome can be an engine suck, but just use it to get your tickets. But we hope to see you guys in Detroit. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be at the Mary Grove Theater. First time we've been at this theater. First time Pangburn's been in Detroit. So yeah, it's going to be, just so you guys know, it's going to be Destiny versus members of the public who buy debate tickets. So they're going to have about 5 to 10 minutes on stage sitting with Destiny, going head to head, and Destiny's representing the anti-Trump side, and the idea is for people who buy debate tickets to represent the pro-Trump side. Brian Stevens is saying, I'm starting to see less MAGA hats as Trump's admin shares confidential information and prices remain high. Yeah. This is probably going to go down as the worst term in the history of U.S. presidents. I think, he's already extorted an ally in Ukraine and tried to squeeze money out of them while they're under war duress from literally the enemy, Russia. So I don't know how you can get much worse than that, but he seems to just be topping it every day. So yeah, we're invading the United States of America with our anti-Trump tour, with the anti-RFK Jr. tour. Make sure you guys help us spread the word. Who keeps tagging me here? This is wonderfully hypocrisy right here, Pangburn. Being banned from your server by liars and easily checkable details. You ignored my DMs, right? I'll have to. I'm behind on my DMs, but if you were banned last night, I saw some admin conversation going around 7 that you were constantly interrupting people in VC. So don't do that. Don't interrupt people. Our administrators don't ban people for no reason. So just don't do that. You're probably on a 24-hour ban. So just do better when you come back.
Yeah. It's not hard to follow the rules.
So yeah, planned right now. 7, you can if you really want to dispute this, you can send a letter to the server judges. But just you were banned for talking over people too much, so don't do it. So just so everyone knows what's planned right now, a tour. There's the anti-Trump tour. So right now we are featuring Stephen Bonnell II on that tour. We're probably going to add more dates with Stephen, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to add different speakers to the tour as well. So any speaker we come across that we think would be interesting or good for this war of ideas against the United States of America, we will work with. And we already have our two, one of them is a very famous YouTuber who's going to be heading up the anti-RFK Jr. Tour. It looks like, actually I can release this right now. It looks like we are going to be starting in Charleston, West Virginia. Why Charleston, West Virginia for the anti-RFK Jr. Tour? Because it is one of the anti-vax hotspots in the United States, for states that are more northern than some of the real hotspots down in Texas. So, so we are going to be starting, it looks like, in Charleston, West Virginia. So we hope that a lot of you travel in for this. It is going to be the anti-RFK Jr. Tour is going to be a tour that's based on going to war with misinformation and anti-science. So do keep an eye on our website. We are going to be announcing the first anti-RFK Jr. Tour date very soon here, maybe as soon as tomorrow, because a venue just got back to me, and I think we have the first venue. And then of course the anti-faith tour. So the anti-faith tour is going to be in direct opposition to this appointment of this faith office into the White House, just basically pissing away people's money, in the direction of faith, which there's supposed to be a separation of church and state. I think there are some violations with why this faith office was created in the first place and what it's going to be doing. But anyways, it's going to be a chance to go to war directly with the concept of faith and the role that faith plays in spreading mis and disinformation in the United States and spreading anti-science, like it does at the Ark Encounter, for example. Someone said, did you ever address platforming as sex offender? If you're talking about Stephen Bonnell, he's not a sex offender. So he gets his day in court like anyone else. There are some claims against him, sharing nudes of an ex, I believe. He shouldn't do that if he is in fact guilty of that, or this revenge porn stuff. If he is guilty of that, he shouldn't do that. And if he is guilty of that, I'll be the first to tell him that he needs to do better. And I guarantee you, he will agree that he needs to do better. It's as simple as that for surrogate self. So when I platformed Jordan Peterson, when Jordan Peterson was, even before he blew up and became, world renowned or a worldwide sensation, whatever you want to call him. So everyone, you wouldn't believe how many thousands of messages and emails I got saying, Jordan Peterson's, he's a white supremacist. He's a Nazi. He's this. He's that. He's that. He's all of these things, and often none of the objections people had anything to do with the subject matter of the conversation, what was going to be discussed. It just seemed like people who were trying to, take the opportunity away from Jordan Peterson to speak. And what came out of those events was a series of 4 of the best intellectual discussions that have ever taken place on this planet between Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris. Maybe you disagree with that, but they were very important culturally for many different reasons. One of them was just exposing the ridiculousness of this postmodern attempt to view Christianity through a psychological lens and try to make sense of it, like Sam Harris exposed. And then there were some other things that were exposed as well, like the complete lack of philosophical depth that seemed to be quite humbled in Jordan Peterson throughout the course of those discussions. Jordan Peterson also was not completely incorrect about all of his contentions with Sam Harris's views. One of them being that Sam Harris claims to be a moral realist, which he shouldn't, because he hasn't solved the is-ought gap. And Jordan Peterson's one of his big contentions through the course of the conversation was that, so you and I probably agree on like that well-being is a good thing, and we should try to maximize it. But Jordan Peterson doesn't like the term well-being, but the phenomena that the concept is abstracting from, Jordan Peterson agrees in maximizing physical, mental, and social health. He doesn't like the concept for some weird reason. But so they didn't necessarily agree on that, but they agreed that Sam Harris was presenting it as like a moral fact in the objective sense, like that we can have an objective morality. And Sam's wrong about that. Sam should realize that his moral stance is actually an anti-real moral stance, unless he has new evidence or some other demonstration he can make. He has not bridged the is-ought gap in the moral sense. So,
yep. I mean, he would have to show me some form of not just rational argumentation, but like empirical evidence or something along those lines to show me that a moral proposition or a moral statement or a moral sense can exist independently of minds, is out there somewhere that we can touch, that we can measure, that we can scientifically explore. That would be when I'd be like, okay, objective reality or objective morals is something we can do. When people say objective morals, they're usually just meaning moral realism and ethical naturalism, and that's kind of what I'm referencing. But taking a moral realist stance is taking the burden of proof to say that there are mind-independent facts about these propositions that are true or false, and that we can say if they're actually real, they correspond to reality or not. Some people think objective morality is like, we start with subjectivity, we all intersubjectively agree on the game, and then there's ways to win the game and lose the game. And the game that me and Travis are playing is well-being. And there are objective metrics that we can use to get to that well-being standard.
There are facts. Yeah. There are facts about well-being. And again, when I say well-being, when Thomas says well-being, when Sam Harris says well-being, we are talking about physical, mental, and social health. Or someone can add other health categories, but that generally covers it all. So there are facts about physical health that if you chop off someone's head, that is an obstruction, that is antithetical to their physical health. If you chop off someone's head, that is antithetical to their mental health. If you chop off someone's head, that is antithetical to their social health. That is a fact about our nature. So there are facts about this, but us choosing well-being as a moral metric is like us choosing our favorite ice cream. It just tastes good to us. It is born of our sentiments, born of our feelings, born of our attitudes that we come to land on well-being as a moral metric. Adam just asked in Discord, are you saying Sam Harris is wrong because his position isn't coherent? Or are you saying he is wrong because morality is not objective? Because morality is not truly objective. That's why Sam Harris is wrong. If you watch the long conversation that Alex O'Connor recently had with Sam Harris, he goes down this road trying to reason with Sam Harris on this, but Sam Harris, for some reason, is not acknowledging the distinction between there being facts about well-being and that well-being as a moral metric he believes is a fact. There's a difference between those two things. So whatever you can, it's not that it's not coherent, Adam. You can find coherence in it. Like, if this is the case, then that, and if we could ever be truly, Sam Harris will say this, if we would ever hope to find an objective morality, it would be grounded in well-being. That still doesn't bridge the gap, but Sam Harris has said as much. But this was a Jordan Peterson, refutation that was actually correct. But a lot of the other things that were argued when we got away from the meta-ethical issue into, applied ethics or applied morality, for example, I think Sam Harris absolutely stomped Jordan Peterson. So now someone else was saying, someone said Destiny admitted the accusations are true. Why do you think he's defending it in court? Why do you think he's going to court to defend it? What are you talking about? Yeah, there's a lot of people who just like when stuff like this, when a legal issue happens, they act like they know things that they do not know. So you shouldn't do that. And wait to see what's discovered in court. He already admitted.
Yes.
Okay. I need to send a couple emails here. Travis, your Dropbox account is out of space. Damn it.
You uploading movies on there?
Yeah, the best kind.
Yes. All the Neil Breen movies and Steven Seagal movies that I can handle.
Okay, this is Dock Street Theater in Charleston. Let's look that up. Charleston.
Look it up.
Where is it located? Oh, okay. It's like right downtown. Okay. Well, I like the price.
$20 for 20 minutes.
It's I'm looking at their website right now, and it's like it's all like musical theater advertised on their website, and then there's just going to be like the anti-RFK Jr. debate tour slapped down right in the middle of it.
They'll be all right.
They'll survive.
Correct.
It's got 130 seats. That's a good start. We can start there. I would love to see what. This should show me the space. That actually looks cool enough. Oh, they have a video. I'm gonna turn off the audio. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, I like it. It's like a small studio space. They have a piano for me to play before the show. I love it.
That's what we need to do. That's what we need to do.
I'll
sing for you.
Hell yeah. Pork and Beans says anti-Trump tour. That sounds gay. What's gay about it? Let's talk about it. You said it's gay. Demonstrate it. Why is it gay?
Please tell me.
I would love to hear that. Okay, Dock Street Theater. That's pretty good. I don't know if I even want to wait to hear back from this other. Should we do it on a Friday or a Saturday?
Oh,
there are advantages to doing it
imagine
on
a lot
Friday.
of people's Friday night. I'm sorry.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I imagine most people's Friday nights are drinking and going out and stuff. So maybe Saturday. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Friday night is usually pretty good because then it doesn't take up people's weekend.
Right. It's kind of like the thing to do for fun before the weekend. Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's always it's not always the case, but it's kind of like the general rule.
Mhm.
Man, I've never I've never really looked at Charleston, but it's wait a second. Wait a second. Wait a second.
Waiting.
I was just looking at the wrong. I might have been looking at the wrong theater.
What a goober.
What a goober I am. The Charleston stage. Let's see their. I need to see their actual address. Address. What's the address? Okay.
212 Baker Street or 221 Baker Street. Is that it?
Ooh. This. Okay, something is going on here. So, for some reason, that venue wrote me back. Oh. I think that was for the other tour. I see. They didn't specify. Charleston, West Virginia. Yeah, so I'm looking for Charleston, West Virginia. Those people were talking South Carolina because I did inquire down there too, but we're doing West Virginia first. Blue Ridge Mountain. Dun, 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 dun. President Trump is doing what we've...
What?
Someone's saying President Trump is doing what we voted him to do. You voted him to extort Ukraine. You voted him to lie.
Mm-hmm.
The extortion of Ukraine, like, you can't justify that. You voted him in to be Putin's puppet. Is that why you voted him in?
Have you guys forgotten the first term? Like all that shit too?
Yeah, you voted him in to like cause ridiculous, unnecessary trade wars that's only gonna hurt the taxpayers with his closest allies. Is that what you voted Trump in for, Mountain Goat? Mountain Goat. So there is no denying, right, that Trump is, with regards to Ukraine, Trump is on Putin's side, right? You understand that is demonstrably the case. Trump's rhetoric is the same as the Kremlin's rhetoric, the same misinformation as Putin. Mountain Goat says, we voted for him to get out of Ukraine and close to border. When did he get out of Ukraine? What are you talking about? Wasn't the idea that he was going to end the war? Is that what you mean? Is that what you mean getting out of Ukraine? I thought he was going to get these wars done overnight. Maybe he thought that he was the daddy of Putin and didn't realize Putin was his daddy. And that got turned around really quick.
There is a lot of video evidence of him saying that the war will be over the first day. As soon as I get in, the wars will be over, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Yep, 100%.
Which is not surprising to me at all. It literally zero surprise that he said that. I expected him to say something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's take the most complicated political situation of all time, Israel and Gaza, and solve it the first day you get in office. That's a grand idea.
Yep. And he hasn't delivered on any of these promises, by the way. And also, how does this make any sense, by the way, Mr. Mountain Goat? You said we voted for him to get out of Ukraine and close to the border. You said President Trump is doing what we voted for him to do. The United States of America has unpaused their support. They're still supporting Ukraine. What are you talking about? How does that make any sense? He hasn't done that. He hasn't done what you said you voted him in to do. He hasn't closed the border. What are you talking about? And then you say you ain't worth my time. What are you doing here?
Hey, could you look up the number? But I think I may be saying this wrong. I'll look it up if you can't. But I think there are like 20 million immigrants that come into the country every year.
Yeah,
so like there's
it's very high.
Not like he's stopping like a huge. It's not like he's stopping like a huge portion of like 20 million of them from coming in. You know what I mean? It's
no. And let me just read why Trump is Putin, right? When it comes to Ukraine. Trump has repeatedly criticized NATO and questioned why the U.S. should defend other countries, including Ukraine, saying Europe should do more. Putin's stance has long been that NATO is a threat and that the West is meddling too much in Russia's sphere of influence. So when Trump downplays NATO or suggests pulling back support, it can sound like he's indirectly supporting Putin's narrative. It's not even really indirectly. It's playing right into it. What about when Trump blames Ukraine because they want to become more secure and better defended after the Budapest memorandum in 94, I believe it was, that completely stripped them of their nukes. They want to become better defended. Yeah. They want to become part of NATO to become better defended. And somehow that has Trump and his cronies point the finger at Ukraine like they're the problem when they're dealing with an invading Russia who's literally engaging in expansionist bullshit that we saw at the beginning of World War II.
Trump's main quote about this silly shit is that you're playing with World War III, folks. They're gonna.
Yeah, so exactly. Yep.
That's what he kept. That's what he told him anyway.
Russia invasion of Ukraine. I'm also going to point out these similarities between Russia and Germany in right before World War II. So Crimea, Trump once said the people of Crimea would rather be with Russia, a justification Putin used for annexing it in 2014. That's a position that undermines Ukraine's sovereignty and echoes Russian propaganda. So Trump is now a Russian propagandist. Is that what you voted for, Mountain Goat? Trump. Military aid to Ukraine. During his President Trump temporarily withheld, we just saw this, military aid to Ukraine, which led this was the first term. This was when he was impeached, by the way. And this aligns with Russia's interest in a weaker Ukrainian military. And this just happened again with the pause, right? That recently happened. And it wasn't only a pause on military aid, it was also on the intelligence, which isn't even necessarily only for military purposes. So ending the war in 24 hours. Trump said he could end the war in Ukraine within 24 hours if reelected, but hasn't said how. And he hasn't done it, right? Both Trump and Putin have leaned on the idea that Ukraine is deeply corrupt. Trump used this argument during the Hunter Biden Burisma controversy. Putin used it to justify aggression and to delegitimize the Ukrainian government. And this is all propaganda. If you buy any of this, you've just bought right into Russian propaganda.
Trump, what he does is he is very good at lying to people and convincing large amounts of people that he's going to have all the power in the world when he's in the executive branch to end wars and change geopolitical structures and all this kind of stuff. It's like you can affect federal things and you can affect our military, and there's a lot of things you can't do at all. Like you can't disband NATO, you know what I mean? Like you can't there's some things that you can't do. And he apparently is able to convince all these people that he's going to be able to do everything when he's, fully in control of the executive branch. But anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. And someone just said, if Trump was a Russian asset, we would see exactly what he's doing now, for example. Yes. So, that is true. Like, this would be a way that he would go about that. Now, I don't think Trump is a Russian asset. That's just conspiracy nonsense bullshit. It's just that Trump is a bully, like Putin is a bully, and he sees strength in bullying, where I see cowardice and weakness in bullying. I would say most people see cowardice and weakness in bullying. But someone like Trump, who's tried to bully his way through his entire life, sees strength in that. And you shouldn't see strength in that. Elon Musk seems to see strength in that. And it's just a terrible state of affairs. It's just this, the United States of America, NATO, Canada, all of these countries are supposed to be standing up against expansionist bullies. We learned the lesson of being isolationists about invasions and expansionist wars back in 1939. So here's some similarities, right? The pretext for invasion. Germany in 1939. Hitler falsely claimed that ethnic Germans in Poland were being persecuted. The Nazis even staged a fake Polish attack on a German radio station, the Gleiwitz incident, as a casus belli, a call to war. Russia in 2022. Putin claimed Russia was defending Russian-speaking populations in Ukraine from, quote, genocide and Nazis. Many international observers called this a fabricated or grossly exaggerated pretext. Why? Because there's zero fucking evidence that there was any genocide happening. Violation of sovereignty. Both invasions were unprovoked attacks on a sovereign nation. In each case, the aggressor rejected internationally recognized borders and launched a military invasion to assert dominance. Expansionist goals. Germany. Hitler wanted Lebensraum, which is living space, for Germans, and saw Poland as part of that imperial expansion. Russia. Putin appears to seek a return to Russian regional hegemony, possibly aspiring to recreate influence similar to the Soviet Union, and sees Ukraine's Western alignment as a threat. Underestimation of resistance. Germany faced more Polish resistance than expected, but ultimately overwhelmed the country quickly, especially with the USSR invading from the east shortly after. Right? Because Poland was being invaded on the western and eastern front. Because there was a temporary non-aggression pact deal and how they were going to slice and dice up Poland between Stalin and Hitler. Russia expected a quick victory, but has faced strong, prolonged resistance from Ukrainian forces and civilian defenders. Global impact. Both invasions triggered major geopolitical shifts. In 1939, Germany's invasion sparked World War II after Britain and France declared war. 2022, Russia's invasion led to massive sanctions, military support for Ukraine, and Sweden joining NATO. So, yeah, for people to just ignore these differences and not realize that that what's going on is the same kind of bullying, bullshit excuses that we saw back in 1939. You're just wrong about that if you don't see those comparisons as legitimate or valid. And we should learn from history how to deal with bullying expansionists. The history on this is that that they will continue with this kind of attitude and way of being if they are allowed to. And the allies of this world need to put a stop to it. Ukraine should be given everything they need to successfully defend themselves. And it's ultimately up to Ukrainians, the Ukrainian people, what result they want to see out of this war. That's what should be dictating the Allied support. Now, and what Trump did by extorting Ukraine, the Ukrainian people, trying to extort a mineral deal while they're under duress, war duress from an enemy, and this is an ally, by the way, is going to be one of the most despicable things any president has done in the history of the United States of America. Without question. So this must be resisted. This kind of attitude must be resisted. This is one of the big reasons I'm sending the anti-Trump tour through the United States of America. This is one of the big reasons I'm sending the anti-RFK Jr. tour through the United States of America. This is one of the big reasons I'm sending the anti-faith tour through the United States of America. These bad ideas that have people, even in this comment section today, trying to justify Putin's way of being, Russia's current way of being, this bullying way of being, like you can cause hundreds of thousands of deaths because you want to be able to give yourself a gold star for grabbing more territory in the history books, is it's disgusting, and it needs to be resisted. And let's see if anyone gave any justifications or reasons for why they back Trump and Putin in Ukraine. Pat B says, I'll take Trump's bullying over Biden's passiveness. Tell me what you mean by that and give me specific examples. Specific examples. And you understand that Biden, by all measures of political science, has been a more successful president than Trump. You understand this, right? But I would love to hear why you would take Trump's bullying over Biden's passiveness. Pat also goes on to say America needs to stop making forever promises. Matter of fact, we need to stop making promises to other countries that span more than 8 years. Yeah, so you understand that what you're calling promises is really what is called geopolitically diplomacy, long-lasting diplomacy, and diplomatic efforts. Maybe you're talking about like other kinds of agreements, but if you're anti-diplomacy, you're going to lose any kind of power you hope to have on the global stage. Diplomacy is where true power lies. It's not in nuclear arms anymore. It's not in it's not in military strength. I actually truly believe that the reason why the United States of America has been as powerful as it has been is due to its strong diplomatic efforts, including the diplomacy shown in World War II, to not when they had the world by the balls, basically. They could have taken as much as they wanted, and they didn't expand. So for everyone that thinks like, oh, the United States of America is the most powerful nation because it has the biggest military. That's a very low resolution take, in my opinion. Yeah, Tulsi Gabbard as well has become like a Putin apologist as well and a Trump apologist. Some of you didn't see that coming, but I mean, this is just obvious and expected to me. A lot of people were wooed by Tulsi Gabbard's like outspoken appreciation for freedom of speech, you know, and then all of a sudden they think that like, oh yeah, this is a good person, this is who I want to be my leader because she's pro freedom of speech. Some people seem to die like that's all they care about and nothing else matters, and it's just like, I mean, yeah, freedom of speech is important, but particular policies and who we are appeasing and like mass extortion and things like that should be important to you as well. King Nick says, Destiny is debating morality still. That creep that releases revenge porn. That hasn't been demonstrated to be the case. That'll be worked out in court. And if he has released revenge porn, he shouldn't do that, and he should pay the consequences of that. That doesn't make him a poor debater or a poor choice for this anti-Trump tour. Holy Eye was here, says, appeasing. What is your solution to peace? In Ukraine, the solution is give the ally who's being invaded by an aggressive, expansionist dictator, authoritarian, give them everything they need to succeed in whatever in whatever way they need to succeed in defending themselves. So as many defensive arms as they need. You know, if it comes down to it, boots on the ground to help them defend. And if that were to trigger a world war against Putin, then this was inevitable. I'm telling you, you need to stand up early days against expansionist dictators. We've already learned this lesson. You can't let it go. You can't appease them. We've already tried this. Don't do it. You need to allow the Ukrainians to successfully defend themselves to whatever level they feel comfortable with. If they say, okay, we're ready to cut a deal with Russia, even though we lost some territory, so be it. It should be up to them. What our ally wants should be what matters. And no, I don't give a shit about Putin's threats for nuclear war. Don't give a shit about it. I do not bend over to bullies like some of you are so willing to do. Not interested in it. Not interested. I have one son, Pat. Calvin Lee says, I'm sick of Ukraine taking, not giving anything back or acting the least bit thankful. Yikes. Isn't that
That's terrible. That's a horrible take.
Yeah, isn't that the meme right now? Like the joke meme from JD Vance? Like maybe that's what you're doing, but you realize you're perpetuating a meme that's being laughed at around the entire world, right? Biden's Afghanistan withdrawal? Yeah, it was a piece of shit. Why are you bringing up, this is whataboutism. Why are you bringing up Biden right now? Because you can't defend Trump? Wow, Pat. Yeah, look at how Trump has pissed all over the long-standing great relationship between Canada and the U.S. and Mexico and the U.S. And some of you think that it's just fucking dandy. Brutal.
Yes.
I hope
Get a better epistemology, learn the facts, and research this shit so that you're not ignorant about the facts.
Yep, that would be an excellent start. I hope some of you show up to the anti-Trump tour. Destiny's gonna be ready to debate you, and if Destiny just like absolutely bulldozes the Trump supporters, we're just gonna claim victory in Michigan and move on to the next state. So we'll see if any of you have the stones to show up to the debate stage, to this war of ideas, and put some of your ideas to the test. Get in touch with me. If you can't afford it, I'll fly you there. Calvin Lee says, I'm sick of sending money to war I don't care about. It's your ally, Calvin. You should care about it. It's an expansionist dictator taking territory. Are you ignorant of what happened in 1939? Some of you just seem to not even understand that this is an actual war happening over in Ukraine. And I think Zelensky was right to point out that, oh, you guys feel so comfortable because you're over on that side. You got this big separation with the water separating you. I'm sure the United States of America would feel way different if it was, let's say, sitting where France is sitting. Calvin Lee doesn't think that they are a U.S. ally. Oh, based on your opinion? You understand it's a fact that they are your ally, right? That's a fact. And you say a leech is not our ally. That is a fact. BPAP says, I would, but I don't want to drive my Tesla and have it vandalized. So you truly are someone who just bends over for bullies, aren't you? So BPAT is someone who seems to, really appreciate bullies, wants to appease bullies, and then he won't even drive to Detroit to debate in his Tesla because he's afraid of what bullies are going to do to your vehicle. You, sir, are bending over to bullying. You shouldn't do it. There are better ways of being. There are better ways of being. Yikes. It amazes me that there are so many cowards out there that are afraid of Vladimir Putin, that take his threats seriously. Do you know how many threats this guy... Okay, let's try to pull up. How many threats... So since July 2022, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson stated that Putin has made at least 35 nuclear threats since the start of the Ukraine war. November 2024, an analysis by CSIS indicated that Russia's nuclear threats have underpinned each stage of the war in Ukraine, suggesting a pattern of repeated nuclear rhetoric. And in his career, he's made thousands upon thousands of threats to other nations. So when are you going to stop believing this bullshitter? or just because he's the big bully, he's got the big arm, you're just going to appease him because you're afraid. Bullshit. Trump 2028, that's anti-constitutional. You understand that, Mark, right? That's an anti-constitutional stance.
Let's hope Mark is trolling.
Yeah, I wonder if Mark is trolling. Yeah. What is your solution to Russia? Send them a fucking message that they will not be allowed to invade sovereign nations, allied sovereign nations. You give Ukrainians everything they could need to defend themselves successfully for as long as they hope to fight, even boots on the ground if necessary. And you push the invaders out, sending a direct message to Russia. That's how you handle Russia in this situation. It's not just me sitting here on a moral high ground, bringing nothing to the table. I've said this many times on this stream. Maybe you didn't hear it. Mark says, Putin strong, Trump strong. Yeah. So some of you are just willing to admit now that you want to be Russia. You want to be more Russian. You want to be Putin. You want to be more like Putin. I'm glad you're coming out and saying that, because many Republicans right now just are too afraid to come out and say it. It doesn't make me that surprised, because so many Republicans seem to be shaking in their boots, scared of scary, granddaddy Putin and what he might do. But yeah, Calvin Lee says, don't talk about unconstitutional when you're the most unconstitutional person here. Yeah, that's fallacious.
Even if you're unconstitutional, it doesn't mean you're incorrect.
Yeah, exactly.
And vice versa.
Yeah. Fallacy. So yeah, all of you Trumpers in the comment section right now should just admit, if you really like what Trump's doing in Ukraine, you should admit that you like Putin's way of governing, you like Putin's way of thinking, you like Russian way of being, you like expansionism, you like invasion. Just admit it. You all have a chance to join us in this war of ideas on the battlefield. Our first stop is in Detroit, Michigan. Yes. On April 26th, we're going to be there with political streamer Destiny. He's going to be joining us, also known as, his real name, Stephen Bonnell II. And you can debate him one-on-one. That debate's going to be live streamed on his channel. He usually has around 10,000 people watching his regular live streams. This event is going to bring a lot more. And the full event will eventually be released on our channel. Calvin Lee says Zelensky is a literal dictator. Yikes. Do I have to really spend time debunking this?
Why are all the people in the chat saying this insane shit?
Because Trump and Trumpism has robbed you of your epistemology. You don't know. None of you are writing justifications for your beliefs right now. You're just proclaiming things, and a lot of you would be afraid of admitting you're just proclaiming them because that's what Trump told you to say, or Trump's people told you to say, or told you to believe. That is where your criteria of truth is sitting right now. It's a truth by authority. You believe what Trump says is true, and you distrust anything that is counter to it. So no, Vladimir Zelensky is not a dictator. He is a democratically elected president of Ukraine, first elected in 2019 with a significant majority, over 70% of the vote in the runoff. Ukraine has a multi-party democratic system, and Zelensky was elected through free and fair elections.
Man, Putin has caused hundreds of thousands of deaths over this absolutely silly idealism he has. And people still want to be like, yeah, he's cool.
Yep. There's there is this meme in the right wing of the United States right now to apologize for Putin, and it's gone all the way up to the high office. The way Trump and JD Vance treated Zelensky in their meeting, the actual one of the greatest public disgraces in United States history. This will go down as that, in case any of you are still like hoping that there will be a positive twist on that. There will be no positive twist. That is it was just an absolute disgrace for the United States to be represented in that way, and treating an ally that's at war in that way. Saying things like, you put yourself in this difficult position with regards to Russia. Bullshit. Donald Trump has become a Russian propagandist. Yeah, so Jeremy Russell, instead, you say, I don't need to reflect on what you're saying when we have had the last 4 years of a train wreck. You can try adding some more information and to explain what the train wreck was. But also what you're doing is engaging in whataboutism. You're not dealing with Trump. You're not dealing with the claims that are being made, because you probably have no refutations to that, unless you're willing to actually say that you agree with Putin and you yourself believe that they're allowed to engage in this aggressive expansionist war. And you agree with extorting allied Ukraine for minerals while they're under war duress. Risk says we were never Ukraine's allies to begin with. That's just factually incorrect. Go read something. That is your ally. Barney Badass says not one person is okay with Putin. We don't want young men dying because aren't old men talking. What? So you say not one person is okay with Putin. Not one person is willing to admit they are okay with Putin. But they are doing Putin's bidding. They are speaking Kremlin rhetoric. They are speaking Putin rhetoric. It doesn't matter if they don't come out and say, I'm with Putin. The proof is in the pudding. No one wants young men dying or women dying. Yeah, you shouldn't say young men dying. There are tons of women dying right now. And women are a big part of every national military. You seem to be stuck in some kind of traditionalist attitude towards war. Okay, what do I got here? What do I got? Jeremy Russell says, haven't you heard of keep your friends close and your enemies closer? Do you think such a simplistic meme should be used when governing the greatest power on this planet? Why would someone want to keep Russia closer? For what reason? So long as they continue to operate the way that they operate. As a murdering authoritarian body that seems to have no respect for freedom and life. You guys, let's not discuss Discord banning in this thread, please, on YouTube. Kyle Sharp says you probably support Hamas. I fucking hate Hamas. I want Hamas to be destroyed. That's how I feel about Hamas. I'm fully in support of the IDF, and I hope that they are successful in their mission in bringing those to justice that planned and carried out the October 7th attack. Hamas needs to be uprooted, and I'm staunchly against radical Islam all through the Middle East. We need to make sure women are freed of their burlap sacks, because there's a massive women are enslaved in many radical Islamic countries, and they need to be saved. That's how I feel about Hamas. Fred Waters says, we get it. You don't like Trump, and as such, he can do no good. Wrong. That's wrong. It has nothing to do with me not liking Trump and he can do no good. It's all the details of what I outlined today. The problem with political discourse on the internet is no one is specific because no one does the reading or the research. Specificity, fuck being specific. Let's just talk in generalities so no one knows what the hell is going on or what people's like normative stances are. Johnny Lift says, you're okay with how IDF leveled Gaza then? They haven't leveled Gaza. It's not leveled.
Seems like a lot of misinformation.
Yeah. There is a lot of damage in Gaza right now. So I'm reading here, 70% of Gaza's buildings have been damaged or destroyed. John Call says, Kamala, what the F? She's a moron, a puppet. Have you said anything about Trump being a puppet, or do you just like picking on women, John? Why don't you enlist the Ukrainian military and see how they feel about their leader? What? Why don't you enlist in the Ukrainian military and see how they feel about their leader? Well, yeah. What do your stats say about their? Let's see if we can get some polling data here. Like, do you have any statistics? There's been internal debates within military ranks, just some disagreements. Yeah, so this is like business as usual for a leader during war. So President Zelensky's leadership has been pivotal in Ukraine's defense efforts. Various decisions and interactions have elicited a spectrum of responses from the military, ranging from support and pride to concern and criticism. So what do you mean? Fred Waters says, why don't you defend Kamala rather than Trump being every answer? Because Trump is in power right now, and we're talking about Donald Trump, and we're promoting the anti-Trump tour. I will say that during this last election, I tried to, pull our audiences during these live streams to come up with, what were the actual issues they had with Kamala Harris. And it was hard to get anything from anyone on that. Like, I literally don't know if I heard one coherent thing. So yeah, if anyone wants to type in what's wrong, don't just make a proclamation. Make sure you support it with your justifications for believing that. Make sure you guys smash that like button. We're promoting the anti-Trump tour here today. We're going to be invading the United States starting April 26th with the anti-Trump tour. Hopefully you guys come out and join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. People will have a chance to sit down and debate destiny. Stephen Bonnell II. You can get tickets at pang-burn.com/tickets. It's going to be a lot of fun. Of course, our invasion of the United States with these events is nonviolent. This is a ideological invasion, an ideological war, a war of debate, a war of the dialectic. That's what we're doing here at Pangburn. You can, we're going to be announcing many more dates here soon, but you can go to pang-burn.com/tickets to get more information. Hopefully you all can join us for these dates, or at least some of these dates. But yeah. How you doing, Thomas?
Just listening to you, bud. I don't know what to say because this stuff is not in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, no, I know. It's Thomas is.
You're also deep in the sauce over there, so I'm just letting you tear it up, brother.
Yeah. I'm just going through the comments here, engaging.
Mm-hmm. I don't. Yeah, I haven't heard any really deeply sound epistemology to where someone is laying. I know you can only type so much in the chat, but you should be doing multiple chats to us, showing us your evidence, where you found this online, how you corroborated that data, how you made your distinction between whether it was true or it wasn't true. Did you use some kind of other way of determining how you thought about what was true? I mean, there's all kinds of questions I could ask you about. Just be specific. All you got to do is be specific, be critical, be skeptical, and write all this information out, learn it, and then be like, okay, now I can make an educated, informed decision and use my epistemology, use my understanding of what knowledge is and how to come to these conclusions in a more rational way.
Yep. 100% agree. John Call says Kamala does not even cross my mind as intelligent. Really? Comparing Kamala to Trump, she doesn't cross your mind as intelligent? Really? Okay. And why do you believe that? Is it because she's a woman? I'm not saying this is necessarily because what you think, but could it be because she's a woman and you just have a bias there? Let's see if anyone wrote anything coherent about Kamala.
I'm pretty sure that Kamala wasn't the one that said, by just looking at one little news report on the right and saying to a national audience that they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. And he was dumb enough to look at one or two articles from conservative news outlets that obviously were against it, certain immigrants. And he just took that information at face value and said it to the entire nation with no impunity. And you think Kamala Harris is at that level? She hasn't demonstrated that level of stupidity.
Yeah. Some of the comments I kept hearing about Kamala Harris during the last election was, we know nothing about her because she doesn't go and speak on the shows that I listen to. Well, she was out there speaking a lot on different programs, but your algorithms on your social media and different places that you go to hear information or news articles aren't covering Kamala Harris, or you haven't shown interest in Kamala Harris. So it's not just going to like come to you. You have to look at what she did. So she had tons of media appearances and did a lot of talking about her own personal life and her work with Joe Biden and her long career in politics and law. And so like people who are saying that are just fucking lazy. They didn't care to look.
Dude.
They didn't care to research these candidates.
Dude, please, guys, do not get your news and corroborating information and sources from Meta and TikTok and X and Truth Social. You're not getting news there. Yeah. You're getting algorithms that promote certain things. If you get on there and like certain things, it's going to promote things that agree with your ideas or agree with what you think or agree with what you may like. It's all attempting to predict that. So I'm not saying that every piece of news that you get on there is bad, but I would imagine there is a majority on there is misinformation. So please just get your news other places at reputable sources.
Yes, and you can search and look at people who have done the political science on reliable sources and have made had really detailed data collection based on news sources' abilities to deliver the facts to you. So it's out there. If you just reach out a little bit, you can get your hands on good information and good sources for information. But you have to try. You can't just sit back and wait for it to come to you, because your behaviors in the algorithm are going to dictate what you get sent to you. Lori says, how to say as an outside observer, Kamala did seem fake and it was difficult to watch her sometimes. Still would have been miles above Trump, but there could have been better Democrat candidates. So why do you think she seemed fake to you? Or why it was difficult to watch her sometimes? Why do you think that's the case? Why did she seem fake to you? Could it have been your bias that's the problem? Why did you think she was fake? Because she has like a nervous laughter? What about someone who's been demonstrated to be a fake? The most lying president in recorded history, Donald Trump. Does he seem fake? I know you said it still would have been miles above Trump, and I appreciate that, but what about her seemed fake? And why was it difficult to watch her? I want to try and understand where this is coming from. Let's see if anyone wrote anything. This would be a record if one person writes something and gives a strong justification for why they, had a problem with. Because in that last comment, we didn't get the justification there, right? I'm always asking for your justifications for what you are writing, what you are proclaiming. So don't forget to give the justification. It's a very important part. I don't want to just know what you believe. I want to know why you believe that. Urquint Boy says, motherfucker thinks he's God. No, I don't. I think I'm a human being that's trying to maximize well-being for humanity. That's what I think I am. What was Kamala running on? I mean, a whole list of different Democratic policies. We can go through them if you want, but are you asking this now after the election? What did Trump lie about? Do I have to do this? I guess.
Go to PolitiFact.
Yeah, go to PolitiFact, but I'm going to read it for the room just because I feel like sometimes I'll reach through to at least a few people. How about the first one, that the election was stolen? After the 2020 U.S. presidential election, Trump repeatedly claimed that the election was rigged or stolen. He had no evidence to support that the election was rigged or stolen. The truth, the courts, state election officials, both Republicans and Democrat, and the U.S. Department of Justice found no widespread voter fraud that would have affected the outcome. Number 2, I had the biggest inauguration crowd in history. Context, Trump claimed his 2017 inauguration had record-breaking attendance. Truth, photos and data, including public transit, ridership, and aerial images showed that Barack Obama's 2009 inauguration had significantly more attendees. We passed the biggest tax cuts in history. Context, Trump frequently described the 2017 tax reform as the largest in history. Truth, according to the Treasury Department and independent tax analysts, several previous tax cuts, including those under Reagan and Obama, were larger as a percentage of GDP or in inflation adjustment dollars. I was totally exonerated by the Mueller report. Context, Trump claimed the Mueller report completely cleared him of wrongdoing. The truth, the Mueller report explicitly stated it did not exonerate him on obstruction of justice and detailed several concerning actions related to Russian interference. COVID-19 will go away. Context, in early 2020, Trump repeatedly downplayed the virus, saying it would just disappear or go away like a miracle. Truth, COVID-19 became a global pandemic, killing millions worldwide and requiring long-term intervention. I built the wall. Context, Trump often claimed he fully built a wall on the southern border. Truth, while hundreds of miles of fencing were repaired or replaced, very little new wall was built in areas where none existed before. We had the cleanest air and water ever. Trump often made this claim to support his environmental record. The truth is that data from the EPA and global environment rankings did not support this. In fact, the U.S. slipped in environmental rankings during his presidency. Windmills cause cancer. They do. They cause cancer, folks. Trump once claimed the noise from wind turbines causes cancer. There's no scientific evidence supporting this claim. It has been widely ridiculed by health experts. The U.S. is doing more for COVID-19 testing than anyone in the world. Trump cited testing numbers as evidence of pandemic success. While the U.S. did conduct a large number of tests, it often lagged behind other countries in per capita testing and response effectiveness. I won the popular vote if you deduct the millions who voted illegally. Context, Trump made this claim after losing the popular vote to Hillary Clinton in 2016. The truth is there is no credible evidence of millions of illegal votes. Multiple studies and investigations have found voter fraud to be exceedingly rare. Let's go to lies in his most recent presidency. Misrepresentation of Social Security records. Claim in a recent address to Congress, President Trump asserts that millions of Social Security beneficiaries are listed as being over 120 years old, implying widespread fraud. This claim is based on an outdated records and does not indicate active fraud. The Social Security Administration acknowledges that some records contain inaccuracies due to historical data entry issues, but there is no evidence of fraudulent payment to non-existent beneficiaries. Is this enough lies so far? Exaggeration of tariff benefits. President Trump has stated that the tariffs imposed by his administration have significantly boosted the U.S. economy without any negative repercussions. Wow. Fact check. Most economists contend that tariffs function as taxes on consumers and can lead to increased costs of goods and services. Analysis include those from Yale University's budget lab have indicated that such tariffs may actually hinder economic growth rather than promote it. So there's been no demonstration that his administration has significantly boosted U.S. economy without any negative repercussions. In fact, there's all indications to the counter of that there have been massive hindrances to the economy. Inflated claims about border security. The president has claimed that his administration has achieved unprecedented success in securing the U.S.-Mexico border, surpassing all previous efforts. While the administration has implemented various policies aimed at border security, data does not support the assertion that these efforts are unparalleled. For instance, the number of illegal border crossings has fluctuated due to multiple factors, and experts argue that attributing changes solely to administrative actions is overly simplistic. So these are some ways that Trump will deceive in the way that he uses language, trying to avoid outright lying. These are kind of misleading statements, right? False claims regarding foreign policy. The president has asserted that his administration brokered a comprehensive ceasefire in Ukraine, leading to a significant de-escalation of conflict. The facts on this is that reports indicate that while negotiations have taken place, a durable and comprehensive ceasefire has not been achieved. So conflicts persist and the situation remains complex with ongoing challenges. So hopefully all of this was enough for you to at least agree that he's a big fat liar, right? Mary C says, "You are a liar." Steady Blaze says, "The majority of humans alive today support Trump." How the hell would you know that? Oh my God. Do you think the Chinese and Indians support Trump? What are you talking about?
Man, that's a hell of a claim right
Do
there.
you think all the people in the Middle East support Donald Trump? Do you think all the people in France, Great Britain, Canada, Mexico support Trump? That is just blind and utter cult capture. I hate to say it, folks, but there are some people out there that are cult captured. That is true. Yeah. It
so
is.
True. It's so true.
So
you should
true.
Listen to him.
What did you say about, what did Mary say about Kamala? What did Mary say about Kamala? She said I missed it. I was doing a lot of reading there. Kamala, word salads are ridiculous. Is that how you're judging who should be president on word salads? What about Trump word salads? If you think Kamala Harris has worse word salads than Donald Trump, then like Donald Trump's word salads are so bad that it's just like it's kind of like if it was a salad, it would be like a blended salad. Like it would be it's not even identifiable as a salad anymore. So Kamala's word salads are ridiculous. Come on. Fish says Trump is a lot of things. Phony isn't one of them. Are you kidding me? Okay, so I think Mary might just be lying. Let's see. I hope not, Mary. Okay, you said, okay, here we go. I think we're to it. Because I actually do want to hear what you have to say. Mary. She sure didn't do anything for 4 years about the border situation. Let's fact check that. So your claim is she didn't do anything about the border situation, and you're wrong. Vice President Kamala Harris has been involved in the U.S. response to the situation at the Mexican border, particularly in her role addressing the, quote, root causes of migration from Central America. Here's a breakdown of what she's done and the broader context. So assigned role. In March 2021, President Biden tasked Harris with leading diplomatic efforts to address the root causes of migration from the Northern Triangle countries, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. Her role was not to manage the U.S.-Mexico border directly. That responsibility largely falls under the Department of Homeland Security, but rather to reduce migration before people reach the border. So that's one thing. In diplomatic outreach, Harris engaged in diplomatic meetings with leaders from Central American countries and Mexico, focusing on combating corruption, improving economic conditions, strengthening civil society, promoting security and rule of law. She visited Guatemala and Mexico in June 2021, where she made headlines for saying, "Do not come, do not come. The United States will continue to enforce our laws and secure our borders." Public-private partnerships. Harris launched the Call to Action initiative, encouraging private sector investments in Central America. Major companies like Microsoft, MasterCard, and Nestle pledged billions to support economic development in the region. And she was met with some mixed results and criticism. Critics argue that Harris has had limited visibility and unclear success in curbing migration. The border has continued to see high levels of migrant crossings, and some say her involvement has been too hands-off. Supporters counter that addressing root cause is focusing on the root cause is a long-term process, not something that yields immediate results. And that she's done significant groundwork. So yeah, a lot of people are going to say she did significant groundwork in Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador by being tasked with leading diplomatic efforts there to try and wrestle with the root causes of migration. I'd like to see, do we have any results thus far? These are going to be results that are hard to quantify, right? But we've already debunked your claim, Mary, that she has done nothing. Regarding her success in the Northern Triangle. So migration from the Northern Triangle, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador has not significantly decreased, and in some cases it fluctuated or even increased. Okay. So we haven't seen any improvements yet there. But, when you're dealing with the root issue of something, it would be ridiculous to expect to see results right away, right? The Call to Action initiative has produced over $4.2 billion in private sector commitments, okay? For those regions, yeah. Governance and a little progress, okay. So the long-term potential success is yet to be seen, right? So this is one of those things that we have to wait and see. So the billions in private investments and groundwork for economic development could help, but it's too early to tell. So your claim that... oh, did it jump on me? Mary. Okay, there. Your claim that she didn't do anything for 4 years about the border situation is just factually wrong. You might think she'd done a bad job, but you should say why. You say, want more? Wow, a debater, and yet you said nothing about my comment on Kamala. Yeah, there's a lot of people in the chat. Chill. Is that all you gave? If that's all you gave, I just debunked it. Maybe you meant to say you didn't like what she did? If so, can you give the specific reasons? Yikes. Yeah, I can give you my sources.
You guys know out there that you all have access to the same information, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you are aware of it,
you can
correct?
also check. I mean, you're all sitting there. So my sources are Reuters, Pew Research Center, ASCOA, which is a migration tracker, Atlantic Council, more from Pew Research, AP News, CIS, Atlantic Council, U.S. Embassy in Hungary, the American...
Reuters was the big...
Yeah.
Reuters was the big one you said, because that's the one where you're going to get direct quotes, direct journalism, a lot of really good non-biased, non-partisan takes.
Yeah, 100%. The American Presidency Project, Council on Foreign Relations, a little bit from the LA Times, the White House, Congress.gov, Hoover Institution, and and some just from Wiki. Someone just said Reuters not credible.
Reuters is not credible? Why?
Yeah, I really need to start saying Reuters.
Reuters.
Yeah, why is it not credible? I hope it's not because it disagrees. Yeah, so this is Reuters is widely considered a credible and reputable source of news and information. Here's why. History and reputation. Founded in 1851, Reuters has a long-standing reputation of accuracy, neutrality, and fast reporting. It's one of the largest and most respected news agencies in the world. Editorial standards. Reuters maintains strict editorial guidelines and strong code of ethics. Its journalists are expected to report facts objectively and verify information before publishing. Global reach. As a wire service, Reuters provides news in countless other media outlets worldwide, which rely on its reliability and speed. Minimal bias. According to independent media bias rating sites like Adfontis Media and All Sides, Reuters typically ranks as centered with minimal bias, meaning it doesn't lean heavily left or right. Corrections policy. When Reuters makes a mistake, it usually issues clear and prompt corrections, a sign of integrity in journalism. So yeah, what are you talking about?
So I just said all that. Why would you not believe that?
Yeah.
Not because I said it, but why would you not believe? Did you just guess that Reuters was not a good place to get information from?
Yeah, so I've given you the goods on this now, so now hopefully you'll believe that it is a reputable resource. Yeah, so Mary, I thought you were going to give the smackdown on Kamala Harris, but you've come up with nothing. Wah, wah.
I need a detailed deductive syllogism for why you think that is the case, please.
Yeah, is this coming from the I do my own research brigade? People need to understand, like, fuck. I don't know. It's hard to know how to deal with the problem of just horribly unsound epistemology that is running rampant in the United States. And I mean, some of the things, like, we can obviously promote sound epistemology, correspondence, criteria of truth, justification and belief, and try to educate and give examples on that. But when people are, and I'm not saying this is Mary, but a large section of Trump supporters are cult captured. When they're cult captured and they're told to disbelieve anything that might seem like it's like resistance material or it's like resisting the movement. Like, it's very hard to combat that. We kind of have to, appeal to people's like emotionality, like with things like with Putin. It's like, this has got to be a strong argument when we show the relationship between Trump and Putin and what Trump says and what the Kremlin is saying about Ukraine. Like, this stuff should be powerfully, like hitting you right in the gut if you're a Trump supporter right now. But some of this stuff is running very, very deep and wide within people, and it's just hard to infiltrate.
Oh, the irony.
Oh, I have another question to ask as a Canadian. Do any of you think that it's morally correct to, if you own a Tesla, to shoot someone if they're vandalizing your Tesla? I would like to hear if anyone thinks that that's okay, to pull out a gun and shoot somebody, or kill somebody if they're vandalizing your Tesla.
Crashing a car. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big piece of metal with a battery in it. And you're going to kill somebody over it.
Yeah. Let's hear the wave of so-called Christians profess this.
Please.
Risk says yes. Absolutely yes. So I assume you're not a Christian, right? Risk? Or are you a Christian?
And are you being serious?
And are you being serious? Yeah, that's a good question. and I know that, like, there are a lot of people who I heard from on some different message boards that think it's completely acceptable. They're like, that's my property, so I'm going to shoot them.
God, man.
Yeah, it the reason why I asked this question, because it does cause pause. Like, I can even see it in the comment section here. It does cause pause. Like, people, like, they want to have an emotional knee-jerk reaction to say yes, and then when you say, like, yeah, but then you're not a Christian, right? It's like, and I'm not a Christian. I'm a I don't subscribe to any religion. Well, maybe hockey. Hockey's my religion.
It's your religion.
But as a moral well-beingist, I could not shoot someone for, trashing my car.
It's just stuff.
I find
it's just stuff. They could have had the worst day of their life.
Yeah, I find that disgusting. They might just be politically radicalized, just like what you, in a way that you don't like to see, and they're doing it for politically radical reasons.
Mm-hmm. Some of these people may vandalize your car, but never put a hand on you at all. Does that give you the right to shoot them?
Right.
It's just stuff, people. Just stuff.
Someone says, I am a beta. You can answer the question. Do you think it's morally correct or morally okay to shoot? Okay, we got a yes. Here we go. And
all right.
Adalensky, you say yes. What are you basing that on? Can you help us understand your moral calculus? Are you a Christian? Risk, how about you? Are you just going to say yes, Risk? Can you give us some justification so we can understand your thinking on this? Steady Blaze says you are a beta. What is a beta?
Oh my God, dude. That's so low resolution. I think they're trolling. Just ignore that.
No, I just want, I hear that, like, people throw around beta. I want to know what a beta is, and we'll see if I actually fit their idea of what a beta is.
I've never understood it.
I'd like to see if there's a rationale there. Am I a beta because I disagree with you?
Could be true. I'm a beta because I'm fat and bald. That's my beta-ness.
Beta is a fish. If you're in your vehicle and feel that your life is under threat, no, That's not what I'm saying. No, you're trying. Adolensky, there was none of that extra baggage you just had. I just said there's simply, what's it called? Not trashing, but, well, sure. They're simply trashing your vehicle. And that's the reason you shoot them. You shoot them because they are vandalizing your property, your vehicle. Risk says your property, your choice to protect it. If they don't care about my property, then why should I care for your life? Okay, so you are that's
horrible morals.
Yeah, you are an ancient Sumerian.
Evil, bro.
Yeah, you are engaging in ancient Sumerian morality, eye for an eye morality, which, by the way, a lot of ancient Sumerians saw problems with.
They did. That's just my normative stance. That is my ought. But that sounds evil to me, man. I'm not saying you are evil, but that sounds ridiculous. You have the right to shoot someone because they're fucking up your property. No, you don't. The only time you have a reason to shoot anyone is if they're coming at you with a deadly weapon and you're about to die.
Can some of you just answer the question and give your moral justification? Do you not know what a moral justification is?
Please explain to me your moral semantical take on this.
At least Risk tried. I got to give that to Risk. Is YouTube paying you? No, YouTube and me are partners because I'm part of the YouTube partner program as a monetized channel. But are you trying to like spin a conspiratorial web or something? Liberal means beta. Location matters. Liberal is not a... Is the vehicle on your property? Yes, the vehicle is on your property.
So wait a minute. Beta. What about UFC fighters that are liberal?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Let's look. Wasn't George Foreman liberal? Rest in peace, George Foreman.
Yeah. What about a lot of the military, like special service, not secret, God damn it, special forces and stuff? Think about how many liberals there are statistically among those people. You think those guys aren't alphas?
Yeah. Yeah, the political leanings. Let's see. That said, studies have been done. Yeah, more libertarian due to their backgrounds, values. I'm trying to see if I can find some information on that. But let's say famous liberal boxers.
Mm-hmm.
Muhammad Ali, is he beta?
Yeah.
Manny Pacquiao, beta. Jack Johnson, beta. So yeah, I want to understand this criteria. Let's open up the can of worms. You guys want to talk about betas? Let's talk about betas. What is a beta? If it's like punching power or fighting ability, I could probably beat the living shit out of all of you. But that doesn't so I need to know the standard by which you're measuring a beta. But I love that we've moved on so quickly from Kamala Harris because not one of you could demonstrate anything coherently wrong with Kamala Harris. Oh, she just seems weird. Okay.
What responses of substance have you gotten? Have you gotten any responses of substance?
Not to Kamala Harris.
Okay.
So yeah. So Adolensky, sure, I can be more specific. So let's just say it's your vehicle sitting on your property. Yes, it's on your property, but then these two liberals come and vandalize and light your Tesla on fire. Is it a morally correct action to shoot them? Is it okay? Gabriel George says depends if it's self-defense or not. America is capitalist as fuck. Yeah, we're not talking about self-defense. I'm still waiting to hear a definition of beta. Let's see if we can get one on what is a beta male? A beta male is a term that comes from social hierarchy metaphor, originally based on animal behavioral studies like wolf packs, where alpha denotes a dominant leader and beta denotes a subordinate. In human context, wait a second, doesn't that mean all of you are betas to, like, in comparison to Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump because he's your daddy? Doesn't that make you a beta? Anyway, submissive or passive. I've never been known to be submissive or passive. Lacking assertiveness or confidence. I've never been known to lack assertiveness or confidence. Less dominant or influential compared to, quote, alpha males. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there's one. I am less dominant or influential than Conor McGregor. There we go. More agreeable, sensitive, or accommodating. I'm known to be quite a disagreeable person. I am sensitive, and I try to be sensitive. I try to be accommodating. Okay, so is this kind of the stuff you're talking about? Waffle says betas also have small wieners. Really? Is this like objectively true? Did you do the study? I'm just checking.
He's ran the numbers and got the statistics, bro. Don't question him.
He's ran the train and got the statistics.
Mm-hmm.
Beta. Isn't that what Jesse Lee Peterson? He always used to call people betas. Maybe we have a lot of Jesse Lee Peterson fans in the audience here. Beta.
I don't care if I'm an alpha or a beta. I have no interest in caring about either one.
Yeah, not getting much of substance here. Travis is a pretty fish. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Well, this has been fun. I hope to see all of you in Detroit, April 26th, 6 days after my birthday. I'll be turning 38. Yay! So I'll be there in Detroit. Destiny Stephen Bonnell will be there. He'll be ready to debate Trumpers, Trump supporters, people who think Trump is doing a good job. This is your chance to get a lot of exposure if you're interested in that, debating one of the most popular political streamers on the planet. And we will eventually be releasing the video on our YouTube channel. It's a chance for you to, if you have a conservative, Republican, right-leaning Trump YouTube channel, this is or any other social media, this is a chance to promote your channel. So do take up the opportunity. We are going to be, making sure everyone engages in good faith, helpful dialogue. So hopefully you take us up on the offer. And if you just want to come and watch and hang out in the audience and hang out after with us, just get yourself a general ticket. But yeah, go to pang-burn.com/tickets to get your ticket. Thomas, thanks for joining me, man. You make it fun.
Love you.
Love you too, brother. We'll catch you guys next time. Thank you so much for the conversations and the chats. Make sure you drop a like on this stream and consider subscribing. Subscribe, or else you're just afraid of the beta.